Okay, my friends, let's just do this in a clinical way. Get an anatomist, a biology student, somebody that's studying the human body, and ask them what that looks like. And if they are astute, they would say, well, that looks like a hip joint. And I would say, well, yes, that is correct. And it fractured over here. They fracture in they fracture all over. It depends on how you hit. But here's what we're looking at is that hip joint, and the fracture we have is about here. All right, so we have seen the actual one in space, which is here. These were the backup sites for landing if they couldn't land where they landed, and they did land here. And this thing is just spectacularly large. And this is basically all the different ways they fracture. We have a fracture somewhere around here like that. But this, I believe it's right in this area. Okay, my friends, it's another shocker du jour. We're going to be looking at comets and asteroids. Bennu samples just came back to Earth over a year ago, and they're examining them, and I think I know what they are, and I have shown what they are. Now, we're going to start with some other ones, though. Comet 67P, as you see behind me, that doesn't look like just some rock floating in space to you, does it? It doesn't look like that to me. Let's see what it does look like and what it represents possibly, and what gases are given off from it and what particles. And let's see what we can determine about it, if we can come up with any conclusions. And then we will assess 67P against all the other comets and meteorites that I have been able to look at, and I have some here. I have a selection of meteorites here, and I will show you what they are literally made of. I mean, in depth. So let's get started. Okay, once again, clinical. What is this? And what are all these little shoots coming out of here? Spitting this way, all over the place. What is going on there? We can see this is brilliantly lit up, as is this. Now, this is the surface of the comet, and it's not gassing off here or here or here, but they look like little tubes shooting out there. Little squirts coming out, and this is gigantic. When I tell you how big this is, it's going to blow your mind. Now, what is that coming out of there? Well, they sampled. It's gases. And those gases are polycyclic, aromatic, hydrocarbons, along with a variety of other substances and molecules and gases. Let's take a look a little deeper. Now, don't forget, we're seeing all these little shoots of... All right, so let's see if we can come up with a reason for these particular anomalies. What's going on there? Well, if this is a hip joint, which I believe it is, what would a hip joint have for blood? Well, here's what it has right here. That's exactly what's going on. There's one big one, and I think it's got to be, well, I can't be sure what it is, and I don't even know this is a human out in space, which was a gigantic thing. I'm telling you, it is what it is, and you have to deal with it. Now, the blood is coming out of all these little vessels, and they're shooting out in all these different directions, because wherever the blood is, it's boiling inside and it's shooting out the tube. So one of them is gigantic, and all the rest of them are pretty small. Okay, what you want to understand here is that they have photographed this from two different directions. This is straight from the back, looking this way. So you don't see the lump sticking off, which is the femur. And again, I don't know what kind of creature this was. It's just a gigantic hip socket from something that looks like a human. I don't know. Now, they did take tests, and here's the samples they took. Kenneth and Juliet, they called them. And these are very, very tiny little things, but they studied what was in these little bitty samples, and this is what they were, which is just nothing more than human biology. These are hydrocarbons, which you're just saturated with them. These are irons, the different states of iron, which is all in the blood, the different oxides of iron. sodium, silicon, carbon. It's all human biology. And they said that. They said it's all basically biological. So what do? You see this. You see this. You see the chemistry is right. Bennu, they just came back with a sample from that, and it's loaded with amino acids, and it is muscle sarcomeres and membranes, which was called the phosphate surprise. So we do have things in space that appear to be biological. From any way you look at it, they appear to be biological. Okay, I'm sorry, my friends, I got caught away for a short while, but I believe we have gone over most of this stuff. The structure, which is basically a hip, the chemistry, which is basically biology, the blood vessels shooting out. I think I went over this, maybe not. This is an artery. It's huge. It's 500 feet across, 500 feet, and it's an artery. These are little blood vessels, and they shoot out all these different directions because of the gases. And those gases are barbecue gases. They smell exactly like steak, and that's what the astronauts say. Space smells like steak. Okay, my friends, you see all these? These are tendons. They're little strappy little things. Let me show you what happened at 67P. We have the exact same thing. You see it right here, where all that tendon is? Well, here's where it is here on 67P. All these little strappy things are tendons. And so is this. This is a bundle that attaches, and it's going to go over to a muscle. The muscle broke off right here. So the muscle, I'm sure, was right down to here. And that was where they attached together. And that's how muscles invest. You see this right here? It's the same thing. You see what it is? That's how muscles attach into little bits of tendon that come out, and that's it right there. This was from a hair follicle from a giant from off of my property, and that's the sebaceous gland. I've shown this a zillion times, but this shows you that that's the same type of tendon investment. You see it? Basically identical. Now, so that little bundle would have gone through, I don't know, to pull them over this way or that way, whatever. These are tendon straps, which I showed you in the other one here. You see these little strappy things? Now, we go down, way down, right into the very, very bowel of the beast here, right down. Look at this. This is 200 meters, this much of a distance. 200 meters. That thing landed somewhere down in here. I don't know where, but it would have been like, well, this is 200 meters. You would have seen like a dot there, like a grain of sand. These are the tendons. You see the straps? That's what tendons do. They go strappy right out, and then they can slide among themselves because they're loaded with goo. So this is how enormous this thing is. Okay, the next video is going to be about Oumuamua. I believe that's how you pronounce it. And this was commented on by Avi Loeb from Harvard. And he thought it might be an intergalactic, outside, intersolar system, whatever, something from outside of our solar system. He thought it might be even a spaceship. And apparently it was accelerating. Now, let's discuss all those things in the next video. I've been dragging these things out too long. People don't want to listen that long. You look at that yourself. You've been following me, many of you, for 10 years. What do you make of that? What do you make of that biologically? I want some comments on this, and I want details. What do you see that you can make a comment on in somewhat detail? Because that is the only thing that holds validity, is to understand what you see and be able to articulate it, that you can say, here's this, and here's that, and here's that, and this is what it is, and boom. And then we will go from there. But I know already what it is, and I have discussed this with the anatomists and autopsy guys, that there's absolutely no question whatsoever what it is. So it's time now to discuss these things out in the open. Avi Loeb testified before Congress or Senate or whatever about it was a congressional investigation about, oh, this could be a danger to us or something. I don't know, whatever they were talking about. But he had the guts to stand up and say, well, let's look at this from a whole new perspective. Could this actually be a spaceship? Could there be aliens in there? Who knows? And I don't know either, because who knows? It's there. We're here. That's all I can say. Now, I want reality. So the next one is going to be on this. And I'm hoping to get my anatomist friend on the line with me. But, you know, this is kind of scary for people to step up and say these kind of things. But anyway, we'll see. And then I'm going to go from this one to all the other. There's a whole batch of them. Now, the other thing I want to comment on right now before we go any further, because I get all this, that's just a drawing. Somebody made a picture of this little doodle of this thing. No, it's not. This is what's called 2D. 2D means that you take pictures of this thing every second, and it was flipping and flopping and all this stuff, and they taking pictures. And what are they seeing? They're seeing all the different shadows and all the different articulations and details and colors and everything, and all the little edges. And then they have seen it from all of these different angles, and then they put it together. It's called 2D. I have my CAT scans done of my specimens with 2D and 3D. Now, the 3D did not work out so well for my stuff because it's transitioned, completely transitioned. Like this goose head right here. This is my buddy Caesar Augustus. And there's his feathers and everything. This is not silly what I'm talking about here. This is absolutely serious. And you would never know that that was biology unless you had mud fossil eyes, which I do. And now you do. So let's go from here. All right, the next one will be about Oumuamua, and then we're going to go to all the other ones. And they have a batch of them. I mean, there's a lot, and I have meteorites here, right here, as a matter of fact. See this one here? These are that meteorite. I'm going to show you in extreme detail. Same with this one here. It's a little tiny. Well, I'll show you when I get them up and running here. But they're magnetic, and so is this one here. This one here is something that's very, very unusual, extremely unusual, and we will look at it in detail again. Okay, so stay tuned for the next one. This is Asteroid Psyche. It's huge. But you just saw the hip. There's got to be a heart somewhere. But there's a bunch of them. This is Psyche. Now, they just came back from Bennu. Now, let me just show you something about Psyche. You see that? That's a tube coming out of there. They were right up here. These are right up close and personal pictures. These colors are the colors of blood. Black, yellow, and red. Those are the states of oxygenation. These are heart valves. These are tubes coming out. Those aren't craters. This is where the tendon locked into the muscle. It's very, very clear if you understand anatomy. I mean, it's almost impossible to miss. This is what the heart is, and they snap right here. And they do that automatically because of what's called iron banding. There's a red and a black iron, and they oppose each other. And right here, they glue. This is how it glues together, and it just goes, pops right off. And they find them popping right off in autopsies. Now, this is Psyche. This is not Bennu, but it is a heart. And here's what they show it as if it melted, because it's almost all metal. And heart is almost all, blood is almost all metal. And a heart is almost all blood. Not only inside of the heart, but the actual muscle is just saturated with blood. So this right here indicates there's hearts to go along with with all the other things. Now, and again, this was billions of dollars they spent. And they went up and they landed on Bennu, which is a heart. Let me just show you Bennu, and then I'll show you, well, let me start here, and then I'll show you what Bennu is, which is just another heart. These white layers are the phosphate layers, which is phospholipids, which is the membranes. They surround each layer of muscle sarcomeres, which are these. That was a heart. They landed in weight, and they penetrated much deeper than they thought they would. They thought they were just going to grab a sample off the surface, but it went down through all the little blood cells, and went right down and grabbed a hold of that muscle and came back with the actual muscle. Stunning, really. I knew it was going to come back with blood, but I didn't realize they were going to get deep enough to get muscle. That blew me away. And as I just showed you, this is muscle. This is a heart attack victim. These are phospholipid layers. They're phosphorus. Phospholipids means it gives it a sliding ability. And these are the sarcomeres. They contract and they, relax. Boom, 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 boom. And it better do that until you expire, because this guy didn't make it because it was a heart attack. At a certain point, they rip and you're done. So anyway, all right, that's Bennu right there. The same heart valves, everything, same thing. This is a tube sticking out. I think this is another one. They got tubes all over them because it's a heart. Now, I think I've made a pretty good case. And they went up there, cost billions of dollars. They came back with this, and they say they'll be studying it for the next couple of decades. Well, they already know it's loaded with amino acids, which are not just little dust. They're the specific chemistry that make up DNA and RNA and everything in your body. And they are in here. And all of the chemistry, clays and moisture and everything that's in it's an identical composition to heart muscle. And this is an identical structure to heart muscle. And this is heart muscle. And this is what hearts look like. And this is what Bennu looks like. It's another heart. And now this is billions of dollars. I think Trump would want to ask and say, well, why can't you guys figure out what you're looking at? Don't they have any biologists there, anatomists? I mean, a first week student would know what this is. I can't believe it. And even a 10-year-old could see this. So we need to, I think we're just missing the truth and the honesty now. I can't believe it's not understood. This is what's killing me. I've been doing this for a long time. Well, even right here, look. This goes back to 2015. I was reporting on this. I said, this is biology. Will somebody please examine this? And it's been denied for 10 years at least. So we want some honesty and some truth and some effectiveness from our research. Spending billions of dollars just to run around a little wheel doesn't get us anywhere. Although this is scary. This is damn scary. I got to admit it. And people have a very, very hard time with this because it harkens back to the ancient texts. And I've read basically all of them. You read Ovid and Hesiod and Apollodorus. And, because those who have, and also, what's the one? Well, I tell you, I can't even think of it now. He was God's buddy. He took him after 365 years. Boy, I can't come up with an Enoch. He wrote all of these, and even the Colburn Bible, all of these things were written, and then he just said, don't talk about that stuff. People think you're so crazy, they'll never talk to you again. And that is correct, because that's what happened to me. Regardless of information, regardless of support for my things, it just won't be examined because it destroys basically the idea that there is no God. Something is going on. There is gods, goddesses, and titans and titanesses and all kinds of creatures and dragons and everything. They're very, very, very obvious. And the human mind now is the issue. And that's what I wrote a book back in 2015 when I was looking at this stuff. And I called it Minds in Collision. It was about Velikovsky. Velikovsky he knew about this. It was all written about. These impacts of Venus almost hit us. And he talked about all the gods. And they took his book off the bookshelves. He was #1 on the bestseller list, New York Times bestseller list, 11 weeks in a row. And the academics came in and forced that book off the bookshelves because it upended everything they said. And when they went to talk to the guy that really forced it, he was, it's always the one guy. And he said, well, why did you force this book off the bookshelves. What is it that you read in there that you didn't believe? He said, I wouldn't read trash like that. So he just banned it without even reading it. That's what we're up against, my friends. It's kind of hard to believe, but it's true. Now, Avi Loeb is, so far, he's the only guy I've seen that has the chutzpah to stand up and say, let's look at this in an alternative way. He could be right, he could be wrong. There could be people running all over this thing. It's good size. And it's got tubes running through here just like we have caves running through our body of the Earth. All right, I love you all. We'll just keep going with this until we get some reality around here.